If you're a player who's interested in reserve list cards, this is probably the video for you, because the sales on the reserve list are continuing to grow, with lower price points attracting in a new audience of player who may not have seen these cards in the past at affordable prices where they could afford to grab them. Now, in today's video, we're going to be discussing why some of these cards sell while others sit on the shelves doing absolutely nothing. And of course, it's all in the backdrop of your top 10, the hottest selling cards on the reserve list. So let's get a look and see what's going on. The attraction to the reserve list should come as no surprise to anyone who knows anything about collectibles. Welcome back, everyone. MTG Moxman here, and thanks again for hanging out with me on my channel today. Before we start today's video, if you enjoyed today's content, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. Tune in every day as I upload content, and of course, we are looking forward to seeing ourselves at the 20K party, and every new subscriber we gain is helping get the channel that much closer. We are only 880 subscribers away from getting to that 20K, and I can't wait to share the party with you. So guys, when we're talking about the reserve list, 572 cards of pure fun and enjoyment. That's what I like to think, but that's my opinion. That's not a truth and reality to how other players may view these cards. Most players look for functionality and the way they can use the card inside a commander deck, a casual formatted deck, as well as they're hoping that these cards gain in value year over year like a good investment should. But that's not always the reality of how we view things or how we play with these things. And right now, the reserve list being as cheap as it is has attracted players back. Players who haven't seen these cards. I'm getting emails from players who said, I bought my first this, I had my first one of this, I bought a Soldevi Excavations, I've joined your tinfoil hat army. This is that kind of content creation I love to see, because it lets players know there is a reserve list out there. There is cards that just are not coming back, at least at this point in Magic's history. Now, I understand that there is going to be a segment of players who like the reserve list as well as a segment who doesn't. But the way the facts are right now, the reserve list is here, the rules are in place, and we have to play as if those rules are not changing at this time. So when you look for cards that have that versatility and availability, that attracts a certain number of players to buying these cards. And when the prices are dipping the way they are, you have speculators coming back into the market, buying up 20, 30 copies at a time. You have other players who may have found these cards for the first time and are deciding to buy into some of these cards, at least getting one for a commander deck. While still other players may have found these cards by accident. They may have played against somebody at a local game store and have never seen some of these cards and wondered what the reserve list is. Those are some of the questions I'm getting more often than not, and it's just such a joy to experience this and share that information with people. It's great. Now, in today's video, of course, we're going to be taking a look at the hottest selling cards on the reserve list this week by volume. It doesn't have to be the most expensive card, because I'll tell you right now, that's not a lot of what is selling. Last week we had kind of a surprise by seeing things like Wheel of Fortune on, and it almost made the list this week. No savannas, no scrublands, we have no taigas, we got nothing crazy on the dual land list, but we have a lot of surprising cards I didn't expect to see here, and that's something we need to talk about, as well as the relationship to what synergized cards actually go with these cards inside Commander and other formats. So let's take a look, let's get the party started, and of course I'm looking forward to seeing your comments in the comments section. Let's get started. Starting out at number 10 this week is Conchhorn from Fallen Empires with 39 sales this week. With an average price tag of $5.14 US, the market price is $5.17, and it's €3.89 to get this card into your house. Here in Canada, this card is around $6 near mint, and it's something to look forward to playing with. Now, when we're taking a look at this card and understanding its usability inside of a deck, all you need to do is look at the cards that this card can connect with. Cards as easily attainable as the God Eternal Knefit, as well as cards like Diabolic Vision. Setting up your deck the right way has never been easier with all these types of cards, allowing for a blended commander deck. Elminster, Brainstorm and Ponder, even Brainstone. And if you ever want to bring this card back, you can use cards like Skull of Orm, but why bother when you can use Hannah the Ship's Navigator to make this card that much more playable? The fact that Conchhorn is from Fallen Empires always led to that bad kind of taste in your mouth knowing it was an overprinted set, but the actual versatility of an artifact like this that doesn't rely on colors is just something players need to be aware of. It's an epic card. Now let's go ahead and take a look at our next card, and that is the number 9 slot, Ephemerith Enchantress. The Enchantress this week from Visions has 39 sales this week, with an average price tag of $28.68. The market price is $26.54, and it's €15.15 to get this card into your house. If you were trying to buy this card in Canada, you'd be looking at around $40. Now, the way the Ephemerith Enchantress has been used in the past is nowhere near as versatile as this card is going to be going forward with all the enchantment decks we now see entering play. The Ephemerith Enchantress, of course, is a 1 green, 1 white summon Enchantress for a 1/2, and it says whenever an enchantment is put into any graveyard from play, well, you get to draw a card. Now, when you look at cards like Fable Stinger, Skull of Orm, Tranquility, things that can destroy enchantments and allow you to bring them back, and again, cards like Hannah's Ship Navigator allows you to bring these things back. Connecting all this together into some massive jigsaw puzzle of a commander deck just lends for so much opportunity, and this is why a card like this continues to see strong sales week over week after that amazing enchantment deck came out from Commander Masters. Now let's go ahead and take a look at our number 8 card this week, and I think you guys are going to be a little bit surprised because this one kind of got me going as well. So the number 8 card is Deranged Hermit, and of course that's from Urza's Legacy, and it has a total of 42 sales this week. Now, when you take a look at this card and understand its versatility as well, you start understanding a card like this, just it desires to be played, and it doesn't always have to be used with a whole bunch of other squirrels to make it work. The average price for the card is $35.99. The market price is $34.74. Now, a foil, of course, is going to cost you a lot. Foils back then were just epic pieces to get your hands on. They were basically like a signed, sealed, and delivered guaranteed lottery jackpot winning. The foil for this is $277.50. Now, the European price is going to be €24.40. Here in Canada, you're looking at around $40. Now, when we're talking about a card like this, you have to understand most people are going to think squirrels. It's the first thing that pops into your head, but it's not the only thing that should be entering your head right now. Emeriel the Blessed, cards like this, Mortuary, the Sigurdian Outcast, as well as the Biovisionary with Mystic Reflection for an instant win combo, cards like Mana Echoes and Cloudstone Curio, I almost couldn't pronounce that properly, just kind of lend to that ability of a card like this to give you instant win combos as well as a little bit of fun with a whole bunch of squirrels coming into play. Now, when we jump down to our next card, I think players might be a little bit surprised because I was when I saw that this thing was coming around again. Let's take a look at our number 7 card, and that is Thrall Champion, with 44 sales this week. Now, this card has had its ups and downs over the last few years, and of course it does have a total value of 0 depending on how you look at it, but the average price tag for the card is only $3.20. The market price for this card is $3.34, and of course it's €2.77 to get this card into your house. Now, when you're looking at a card like this, you say, well, how am I going to use it if there's not enough thralls to go with this card? You don't always have to worry about thralls, you have to worry about creating your own army. Now, the Thrall Champion, of course, is just a 1 black splash, which means it fits with all kinds of other decks. Ravios the Soul Tender, who gives all your other creatures +1/+1, means you can pump your Thralls up even more. But you can also use things like the Shields of Veils, as well as the Unnatural Selection to create your own creatures. Taking your opponent's creatures and making them into Thralls and then gaining control of them is amazing. Also being able to use the Mirror Weave to Vesh Savat, the Doom of Fools, and then throwing in a card like the City of Shadows to even exile creatures in case they try to unsummon them or get them back, means you can build up your City of Shadows, do a whole bunch of multi-effects that can lend to a winning combination in any deck. And it all started with a Thrall Champion. This is why a card like this doesn't really have a lot of value to so many players until you see it played. When you see what the card can do, you can get a little bit excited knowing that you did it with a card that nobody cares about, again, from Fallen Empires. Now let's go ahead and take a look at our next card this week, and that is Brain Geyser Revised Edition with 49 sales this week. Now, a card like Brain Geyser is kind of funny because it's had highs of over like $75 US, but ever since the downturn in the market, this card's basically back to the bottom basement price, right? You get it so cheap now. I think on TCG Player, you can find this card for like $7-8, moderately played. And remember, guys, if you're buying anything on TCG Player, please remember to use my affiliate link. It's found in the description of all of my videos. If you click the link for TCG Player, it takes you to TCG Player. You can buy anything you want, and this channel gets a 3.5% kickback. It helps me buy cards for the channel. And of course, I'm spending all that money on the 20K party anyway, so it's kind of epic to see what players can do when they help lend a hand by using my affiliate link. And it's free to do. It's amazing. Now, when we're talking about Brain Geyser here, let's look at what this card can actually do for you. Let's look at some of these amazing effects that a card like this lends to it. Being able to use something like Mystical Tutor to bring it into your hand, cards like Quicken that can make your sorcery cast as an instant to do that brutal effect when nobody's expecting it, cards like Prosperity, Ral Zarek, Sphinx's Revelation to add more combinations and powers, and then you can add all this in with cards like the new one, Will the Scion of Peace, lends a little bit of playability with a whole bunch of versatility of lowering casting costs. This is kind of crazy to see, and of course Will is going to work in a lot of different ways, and it all can be connected together with cards like Brain Geyser. Love cards like this. Now let's go ahead and take a look at the number 5 card. This one has been on the list basically forever. It drives me insane every time, but it's still here, and that is Fast Bond Revised Edition. The card's basically banned everywhere. 53 sales this week with an average price tag of $28.77. The market price is $20.56, €16.92 to get this card into your house. So what can we even do with Fast Bond? Now, considering this card is basically banned everywhere, there's not as much playability as players would like, but kitchen table and just fun magic and wondering if this card will ever get unbanned lends to a lot of possibilities. Cards like Renin 6, which lets you bring cards back, Crucible of Worlds, Zurin Orb, sacking lands and bringing them back. Cards like Brain Geyser, getting a lot of lands laid out, allowed to use Brain Geyser to draw more cards. Of course, also, Fast Bond does damage to you. So cards like Second Chance, you can purposely gun your life down low, get the extra turn, and do crazy effects. And if you don't want to lose the game anyway for having minus life, you can use cards like Platinum Angel. We've used lots of combinations with this card over the years to make it fun and playable. The fact it's banned should not let you ruin your fun times with this card, because you never know when cards like this will become unbanned. And that's where a lot of the speculators are coming in right now. So let's go ahead now and take a look at the number 4 card on our trip down the Yellow Brick Road, and that is Fork from Revised Edition. With an average price of $38.20, the market price is $36.55, and it's €17.70 to get this card into your house. It's around $50 here in Canada, but 60 sales is nothing to snub at. Now, this card has been as high as $150 US. The fact this card is so low, I cannot state how underrated this card can be in the right combinations. And what I'm talking about here, when you look at the card and you realize it can combo with things like Dual Strike, you can use it with Isochron Scepter, you can use Ral the Storm Conduit, you can use it with things like Time Warp or even Professor Onyx to make things crazy. Why not use Rutha to make things just work the way you need them to work? Connecting all these cards together in Commander, Commander decks, Casual Play, Kitchen Table, Vintage Legacy, I don't care where you're going, Fork can help get you there that much easier. It offers a certain playability level that a lot of new cards don't, that are more linear or too multifunctional, that don't suit the right purpose or with the full effect you're looking for. Well, in this case, Fork definitely fits your bill, and it costs next to nothing compared to where it was. And that's why a card like this is underrated at this time. Now let's go ahead and take a look at our next card, and that is going to be Demonic Hordes, a real surprise to be on the list this week from Revised Edition. 63 sales this week, an average price tag of $6.29. The market price is $6.55, and it's €4.30 to get this card into your house. Here in Canada, it's around $10. So what can we do with a card that comes up like Demonic Hordes? How are we going to make this card work? Well, if you use it with something like the Soul of Windgrace. Now, this kind of card can work because when you play your cards from your graveyard, when you bring things back, you can use the Demonic Hordes to sack your own lands, you can use it to blow up opponents' lands, and even though the thing gets tapped, it doesn't stop it from utilizing its effect. Using Azura to play additional lands to get ahead of your opponent, things like Ren the Realm Breaker, or even the Excavator to play cards from your graveyard to bring those lands back, even if you are destroying your own lands, trying to limit your opponent. This can be a crazy game effect with all kinds of naughty nature stuff that you're just like, what's going on? Why does this guy even have Demonic Hordes in his deck? It's because you'll have a way of getting your lands back or having a way to stay ahead of your opponents. And for such a minimal investment cost, this thing's crazy to see. Now let's go down here. We are at the number 2 slot. You guys are going to be just as surprised as I was to see that this card is still commanding a pretty sale. And that is, you guessed it, Soldevi Excavations. 67 sales this week and still the card of the channel. This is a card I buy each and every month. Prices have never been cheaper, and it's drawing a lot of players into this Alliances card to recognize how fantastic it can be, augmenting a blue commander deck. Now, the average price is $17.95. The market price is $17.50, and it's €10.60 to get this card into your house. It's actually around $30 here in Canada, so you're better to buy it on things like TCG Player, where you'll save a little bit of money. But what will this card actually do for us? How are we going to make the card work? Well, if you use it with something with Elegeth, the Crossroads Augur, think about this card. It says, whenever you scry a number of cards, you draw that many instead. So things like Soldevi Excavation, Castle Vantress, Rivendell, all these things allow you to draw. How about trying out Galadriel of Lothlorien? Guys, cards like this are going to be crazy because you can also scry with it to draw even more cards, and you can protect it with Exor, the Ward-Winged Familiar, making it hard to target your commander. All these cards connect together to make a card like Soldevi Excavations really shine inside your deck. This is just epic to see how many people have played with this card now and recognize how much fun it can be. Now, that was their number 2 card. We still are going to get down to the number 1, the top selling card this week by volume on the reserve list, and that's right, we are talking about Copy Artifact. And you know what? Understandably so. This card has an average price of $45.99. The market price is $43.99, and it's €42.16. But if you were going on TCG Player, you can find a moderately played one for $27. This thing's been up to $180 US, and when you see what this card can do for you, you'll be surprised because the combinations are as infinite as the card imagination you have. You can duplicate cards like Mana Crypt, Mox Tantalite after it comes into play. Of course, copying something like Soul Ring, using something like Enlightened Tutor to go get it is like going to get another artifact card. Using the Throne of Geth or even a Blightsteel Colossus, copying that thing so you can guarantee the win or at least make your opponents react really creatively to the amount of naughtiness you can bring out. And don't forget, because it's an enchantment, there's so many cards that will allow you to go back and get it that it's just epic to see this card go off. It's at an underrated, understated price right now. It's on the reserve list, as are all these cards. And this is something that players just don't think about. So there you have it. When you take a look at the reasons why people buy reserve list cards and collect these cards, if the card is not playable and affordable, players avoid it. And if the card is playable and still affordable, they will buy the card. These are the 2 staple rules that don't really seem to change when it comes to reserve list collecting. There are lots of little niche markets out there that allow the players to buy the cards they like at the price point they want any given time over the decades. But those cards that can truly still be played in the multi-changing formats we deal with in Magic the Gathering, and those cards that have that nostalgic appeal to players, are the biggest factors. Thanks again for hanging out with me here on the channel today. And of course, I look forward to seeing you guys tomorrow for another amazing video. And of course, the live stream tonight. Don't forget, 6:30 Eastern Standard Time every Sunday. I'll see you guys then. Have a great day. And of course, a big shout out and thank you to all the fantastic patrons I have supporting this channel each and every day. Without those patrons, this kind of content's just not possible. So a big shout out and thank you to all of them for making it happen each and every day. I'll see you guys tomorrow. What, you're here at the end again? Ramble Jamble time? Cinematic Universe ending, brought to you by the patrons of MTG Moxman and MTG Moxman himself. Thanks a lot for stopping by. If you made it this far, of course, you're going to put Necronomicon in the comments section because it's the Book of the Dead and we just worship that book at this point. So how do we feel? How are we doing today, and what do we think's happening on this reserve list craziness? I'm telling you, with the prices dropping the way they are, there's a lot of attraction, and there's also some consolidation from a few people out there who've got bigger pocketbooks, is how I'm putting this out there. Some of these cards do have uses, others not so much. But the sales volumes and people just kicking the tires, having some fun, has a lot to do with it. I'm loving it. I think it's fantastic to see these sales going because it's something Wizards can't really touch without like turning over the hornet's nest to the extreme. Like can you imagine the end of day scenario in which Wizards reprints the reserve list as playable versions? Not weird, these are proxies you can't play with, which just promotes people playing with proxies. Wizards shot themselves in the foot with that one. It's crazy. But when you look at what they could do, if they just leave it alone or even expand it or build a whole new bridging section of Magic that includes newer types of cars that are automatically reserve list, that would be crazy to see. They've got so much canvas, so much painting room to play with that it blows my mind. Anyway, thanks a lot for hanging out, guys. Thanks for being here today. Love this stuff. Can't help myself. And 20K party. 20K party. That video is coming out this week. How about that? It is coming out this week because we're getting pretty close. And I've had to really ramp up efforts so much that I'm a little bit worried at this point. But that's okay. We're going to make things happen. We're going to make things work one way or the other. Yeah, there's a lot going on. But that's okay. We're going to talk about it. I'll see you guys soon.